Good morning and welcome to Sutra Day. Today we're covering the Yoga Sutras 1.12 to 16. And this section is about practice and non-attachment. Previously, Patanjali has been explaining how yoga, the practice of yoga, can help us feel at peace and help us calm the fluctuations of our mind. So here he is starting to tell us how in order for that to happen, we need to practice, and we need to also practice with non-attachment. So in Yoga Sutra 1.12, Patanjali just basically says that practice and non-attachment equals calming, peace, and tranquility. In Yoga Sutra 1.13, we learn that effort is needed to maintain this practice. So the practice of yoga, not just the physical practice, but the whole practice, the practice of the ethics, the way that we treat others, the way we treat ourselves, the practice of breathing and meditation, all require practice. That's why we call it practice, but it requires an effort to maintain that practice. Yoga Sutra 1.14 is a very long sutra, many words to look at and to translate. And I've translated to that practice is created through a long time, a period of time. It is needed to have continuity, attention, great care, strength, and groundedness. So you can see below all of the words that are used in this particular sutra. I thought it was interesting that the first two words, which is often translated to that, when you hear them the two together, it actually means womb. And then the next word, dirja, sometimes we do dirja breath, which is the complete breath, feeling your breath through all three parts of your body. Taking a long, deep breath. So there's some interesting connections, the sounds of the words to parts of the yoga practice itself and the idea of the womb and creation. Yoga Sutra 1.15 explains that, we want to practice, but we also need to have freedom from desire, freedom from control, and that the wisdom also comes from this non-attachment. So when we have freedom of desire, freedom of control, we have wisdom as we practice non-attachment to things that are seen or heard or objects. It's going to be interesting to reflect on what our attachments are to the things that we see, things that we have heard, and our objects. Objects are here, material enjoyment, objects, experiences. So objects can be translated in many ways. And it's interesting to look at some of the different translations because then we hear more meaning. We can understand more meaning. And then finally, Yoga Sutra 1.16. The highest perception of the true self comes when we are free from desires based on our tendencies. And these are the gunas. And we're our qualities, sometimes it is translated to. We're all have all three. Sometimes we're a little more dominant in one, rajas, tamas, sattva. These are our tendencies. The rajas is fire and passion. It's much more complicated than that, but that's basic. And tamas is darkness, lethargy. And when we're feeling a sense of sattva or we're sattvic, we have harmony, balance, and joy. It is interesting to notice that here we're talking about being free from our desires based on all of those tendencies. So, we might be attached to our fiery, passionate self. We might be attached to some of our darker sides of ourselves, our shadow selves. We might be attached to our lethargy, right? But we can also be attached to wanting to feel a sense of peace and harmony and joy. So as we practice, when we make our efforts, we're having a non-attachment to maybe the kind of a fiery practice or a soft, subtle practice, or or feeling peaceful. We can get attached to feeling that way as well. So it's interesting to see where our attachments come up. The point isn't to judge ourselves or to try to be detached. So I prefer the translation non-attachment, just trying to not be so attached to parts of our life and parts of ourselves, and be open to our true self, and to work on discovering what that is. It's just an interesting part of our practice and of our efforts to try to connect with something that's beyond our tendencies. Right, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to send me a comment, and I'd love to communicate with you more about these concepts. They're very complex. All right, have a good Sutra day.